Hello everybody, this is Mary Beth Bruder. I'm at the University of Connecticut and I co-direct the Early Childhood Personnel Center with my colleague George Tsagay. I'm very pleased to be with you to share with you some of the exciting activities that we're doing in personnel. And as you can see, we feel very strongly from the title of this presentation that personnel are the key to student outcomes. That is, we need competent and confident personnel across disciplines in early childhood in order to reach developmental and behavioral outcomes that we are striving for with the infants, young children, and families who we serve. We have built this center and the work we've done in personnel around the CSPD. Many of us who've been around the field for a long time remember the days of the comprehensive system of personnel development. And unfortunately, this was not emphasized after the 2004 amendments. Part C, the early intervention component of IDEA, had a small CSPD requirement. But the CSPD, when it was first designed in 1976, focused on a systematic approach that integrated a number of elements that formed a statewide system that supported personnel both at the pre-service and the in-service continuing education level. In the Early Childhood Systems Framework, which we are using in all of our technical assistance centers, personnel is one of our subcomponents. The personnel system is focused around these 6 indicators that are quality for personnel system. We have personnel standards, which is ensuring that our state-level standards and licensure requirements match the national standards that our organizations have put forth, such as CEC and as informed by the DEC specialty standards. Recruitment and retention efforts, which is primarily ensuring that we have qualified persons coming into the field and we're able to retain them and provide them the tools they need to provide their jobs and provide the services to those children who qualify for IDEA services. Pre-service training, working with our institutions of higher education, and in-service training, providing continuing education opportunities to those who are serving in early childhood intervention. Leadership, coordination, and sustainability is one of our quality indicators that focus in particular on looking at how we sustain this effort or this system. And then evaluation, which really does focus on all of these areas as an overall quality assurance mechanism. So to look at these 6 subcomponents, you can see that each one of these relate to each other, and within each we have 2 quality indicators and a number of elements of quality under each that we use to set the standards that we feel are important for any statewide system. The Early Childhood Personnel Center was funded primarily to facilitate the implementation of an integrated and comprehensive early childhood system of personnel development for all disciplines who serve infants and young children with disabilities. It's a large task, but we feel it's integral to any kind of support system that we provide to families and children. That is, we need personnel who are competent in order to enable infants and young children to reach their full potential. Within our center, we do a number of different activities under objectives for personnel, the first being knowledge development. Just going to mention these because these are resources that are out there and the field can use, starting with the National Directory of State Personnel Standards across 13 different disciplines. We surveyed each state and each licensing and certification office, and we have this on an interactive map which you can identify by state or by discipline what's required in each in order to practice within that state system. We also have a national database of what components are in place across our Part C and our 619 programs. And we also have a number of written materials such as research syntheses and metasyntheses on personnel issues, in particular evidence-based issues. Lastly, we've been working with a number of professional organizations, Occupational Therapy Association, Physical Therapy Association, Speech and Hearing Association, Council for Exceptional Children, Division for Early Childhood, the National Association for the Education of Young Children, and 0 to 3 to develop cross-disciplinary personnel competencies. We've had 3 meetings, and we have a set of competencies that have been identified through crosswalking all the different standards that these agencies and organizations require of those who serve children under the age of 5 within their discipline. And these also are going to be available. We provide both targeted and intensive technical assistance. Our targeted technical assistance began with focusing on aligning national and state personnel standards and also aligning pre-service prep competencies within a state with their in-service training competencies. We have 4 states, and we have 4 state examples of how this was done. We also provide leadership training to Part C and 619 coordinators to facilitate their inclusion within their state early childhood system design. This is targeted TA, and we have been involved with 20 states. And on the map, you can see the states and what cohort they've been in. And each of these states do an action plan, and the action plans require goals, objectives, timelines, resources, and most important, evaluation. The types of goals that these states, these 20 states have come up with, as you can see, range from developing an inclusive state early childhood leadership team with a shared vision and mission to then focus on how to work together and integrate activities across personnel as well as other system components, data collection and analyses, personnel standards, the dissemination of personnel policy and practice documents to support inclusion, and then lastly creating and funding the inclusive professional development learning opportunities. So these states are very busy, and we have nice examples across them of the different types of activities they've done in each of these areas. Our intensive technical assistance is focused on building the CSPD framework. We started with 4 states, which we have just completed, and we have just identified the next 6 states where we will scale up the framework that we worked on with these initial 4 states. These 4 states were chosen because they differ along a number of dimensions, and what we wanted to do was start with building a model. And these 4 states helped us by identifying the different ways that they could look, in particular, about in the systems framework at each of the subcomponents. Our framework was used to then help states do a strategic planning with their stakeholders. Each state used the framework as a pre-assessment, and then they provided strategic planning support. They brought stakeholders to the table where they did a vision and mission and goals and objectives very specific to the personnel framework. From there, they developed their CSPD frame, which used each of those subcomponents that I shared in the beginning. And then these actually were broken down to having each state have a plan that has information, activities, and evaluation in each of these subcomponents. As example, personnel standards, Iowa in particular, looked very specifically across the personnel standards they were using, and they aligned them to national, and then they're actually going to be revising their early childhood endorsement as a result of the personnel standards they worked on. Recruitment and retention, Oregon is giving us some great examples of how to recruit for rural regions in their state, especially when we have a shortage in those areas. Pre-service preparation, Kansas, did a needs assessment across all the higher education programs in their state, and they developed competencies that cross disciplines, and in particular, they have an interdisciplinary higher ed summit, which was held, and they're going to continue to hold that to make sure that everybody is consistent across programs, and then to determine the gaps between pre-service programs within the higher education institutions in their state. In-service learning activities are done, again, as I said, by all of them, but Delaware gives us an example of how they work with their Office of Early Childhood, and in particular, focused on developing in-service learning activities across all of early childhood for themselves. The Leadership Coordination and Sustainability, Kansas put together a website where actually everybody in the state can get on the website to get updated information and to provide examples within each of the 6 subcomponents. And then they're all doing evaluation, and the evaluations range from formative evaluation for progress monitoring across each of the subcomponents. All of the states had some subcommittees within each subcomponent. They had varying amounts of time that they met with each other, and they had varying amounts of people on each one of those. The most important was the diversity of people, including families. And I think in closing, I just want to let you know that we have a lot of this information up on our website. and we provide a number of supports to folks on the website, including the concrete examples of what I just had a minute to go over here, and be happy to talk more with anybody. Thank you very much for your attention, and I'm happy to turn you over to Donna Spiker from the DAISY Center, who will emphasize how important evaluation and ongoing data collection is and how integral it has been to our center and the TA we're providing on personnel.
Hello, everyone. I'm Donna Spiker, and I co-direct the DAISY Center. And I want to take a few minutes to talk with you about the importance of personnel data. The way we like to think about data is that having data can help you answer critical questions. Asking the right questions can support the state agency to effectively do three different things: to administer the program, to meet accountability requirements for early intervention and early childhood special education, and ultimately to improve results for children and families through an examination of program features. Having the right types of data helps you answer critical questions about issues such as types and characteristics of personnel, some examples, demographic characteristics, training and professional development being received, and also relationships between personnel data and characteristics of the children served, outcomes of children served, types of evidence-based practices being used, and types of training and professional development received. I want to emphasize here that personnel data should always be thought of as part of your comprehensive system of personnel development. So having good data about personnel will help you evaluate your PD system so that you can continuously make improvements and adjustments as needed. So having personnel data can help you answer critical questions about the characteristics of early intervention and early childhood special education practitioners. And here are a few examples of the types of questions. What are the demographic characteristics of the practitioners? What are the levels of education and years of experience of the practitioners? How many practitioners have specific types of credentials or licenses? And then finally, what is the turnover rate among EI and ECSE practitioners? And you might want to also ask that question by year, by professional role, by local program, or some other factor. Having personnel data also can help you answer critical questions about the ongoing professional development of your practitioners. And you can look at questions such as these. What PD activities do your providers and teachers participate in during their employment? How much professional development do providers or teachers receive over a given period of time? And you might look at this by year, over a 5-year period, by role or profession. And then another question, how much of specific types of professional development do providers and teachers receive over a given period of time? And again, I would suggest that these personnel data should be looked at as part of your state's comprehensive system of personnel development. Another set of questions involves having the key data elements that would allow you to track trends over time. So you might want to look at year-to-year changes in your personnel data with questions such as, what is the turnover rate among your practitioners over time? Are more personnel receiving training about evidence-based practices over time? Are more personnel implementing evidence-based practices over time? Are more children being served by well-trained personnel? And especially important, are more children with well-trained personnel experiencing better outcomes? Another issue is having the ability to link data elements that allows you to answer critical questions. So linking child and family data to your personnel data can help you answer questions like, are some types of children more likely to receive services from well-trained personnel? Do children receive services from highly qualified personnel have better outcomes? And then it's very important to note that linking across the different data sets requires the use of a unique child and personnel identifier. In this slide, I just want to make a pitch for the DAISY Data System Framework. And the DAISY Center has developed this framework to help states think about their data and their data system. And they have TA specialists who are ready and available to assist states with their data. So related to this topic, the DAISY Center has TA specialists who can help you with your personnel data, and we can help state staff in 3 ways. They can help you think about some of the personnel questions they would like to be able to answer with their state data systems. They can take stock of where their data systems are relative to being able to provide the kind of data needed to answer important questions. And we can begin to help you plan on how to improve the power of your data systems. And finally, I just want to end by letting you know that you can find many useful resources on the DAISY Center website. We have our website address here. You can visit our website and get in touch with us for assistance, and you can like us on Facebook or follow us on Twitter. Thank you and goodbye.